the merits of opening more special schools, or demerits for that matter, or empowering students with provisions for education in the mainstream, if I may be allowed to use that term, educational institutions. We have a very distinguished panel today. On my right, immediate right, I have Ms. Srimati Siri Lingwa, whom we have already heard. Wonderful speaker, a great orator, and this subject is very, very close to our heart from the passion speech that we all were fortunate to listen to this morning. Welcome, ma'am, to this panel discussion. To her right, on my extreme right, is a very special person, Dr. Bartha Dakar, Srimati Bartha Dakar, Executive Director, Bethany Society. This is one of the problems of an educational institutions, ma'am. Sorry for this little slip. A lot of people call me doctor as well, but I'm not. On my left, we have Ms. Mary Tharmangar, who is a state IE coordinator. Welcome, ma'am. And to my extreme left is a very well-known figure in this part of the town, Sri Kamo Narona, who is the Secretary of Bethany Society, has been doing wonderful work. We all know, we all are aware of that, the role played by Bethany Society in our society at large. Welcome all of you to this panel discussion. Without any further ado, let us start with the opening statements, opening remarks. As I said in the beginning, the panel will deliberate on whether to go for opening more special schools relevant to the needs of people with special abilities, or should we go ahead reinforcing the facilities in the mainstream schools or colleges. Let us hear from a person who is right in the middle of all these, a person who has experience and a person who has been spending a lot of time on this. I'll start today's panel discussion with comments from Sir Kamo Narona. Sir, what do you have on these? What do you have to say? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I just want to ask people, how many of you use SMS? How many of you are deaf? No one. So by right, you should not be using it, because SMS was actually made or done by a deaf person for deaf people, because they could not use mobile phones. So the first point that I want to make is, a society that is good for persons with disability is a better society for all. That's very important to remember. We are benefiting from a technology that was made for deaf people. Secondly, it sounded the host, it sounded very nice when the host mentioned about special education. But let me remind you, and I'm reminded, thanks so much St. Edmunds for the beautiful song about the river. You know why special education was started? Especially in Meghalaya. Because those that tumbled and fell in the river of life, in the river of education, were thrown out of the river. And this initiative was taken especially by parents because their children had no place in the education system. What I'm sharing are my personal views and my experience. Simtan is here, but I was very closely associated with her dad, Sajad Ali. I used to call him my brother because he fought for their rights. So, special education has that history. It is about discrimination. It is not about giving a better education. Maybe it has happened, but I will come to other points. The second point that I want to make now, and Patricia Mukim is here, there are two major challenges that are facing us today. One is, how do we manage what we throw out? And the other is quality education for all. What do we do for what we want to throw out? We mix it and we throw it out and produce something that is we call garbage. And this in the 21st century, we want fly high, use technology. We are doing that. What do we do with children who can't cope? We segregate them. When the actual solution is the opposite. Segregate what you want to throw out and mix children so that all of us can enjoy resources and capabilities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those wonderful, very insightful remarks. On the importance of special education and such provisions for special education in schools set up for the purpose. Now, I'll come to Ms. Karmangar now. My very pointed question to you, ma'am, you may call it an observation as well. How does our inclusive education, according to, at least according to many students, many schools of thought, an inclusive education provides the learners more power because they also become relevant to the society where others live in equal terms. So I just want you to throw some light on the power of inclusive education.
Very good afternoon to you all. It's an honor and privilege to share the stage with the founding members who work on the education for children with disabilities in the state, Mr. Kamo and Madam Lata, who are the stalwart in the fields of disabilities, I must say. And also, I also would like to express on behalf of my director, Sri Swapnis Tembe, IAS. He is my director of School Education and Literacy, as well as the State Project Director for Samagra Shiksha, Meghalaya. So on behalf of the directorates, I express his regret. He deeply regrets that he cannot take part in this discussion as the panelist due to the sudden visit of the Union Minister since yesterday. And today also will be holding programs along with the review meeting from the ministry. So I was deputed to attend from the department. So far, depending on me, I have had the privilege to work in both the sector of special education and was introduced also to this field of disabilities. Around 7 years I have been working in the special education setup. Okay? So under the school and center for the hearing impaired here in the Bethany campus itself. So based on that, I think special school, and although I'm to respond on inclusive education, but I'll come to that. I'm just sharing that my experience with the special schools setup. We reach only to a few population of children with disabilities. Moreover, these special schools are not available all over the state and in all the districts of Meghalaya. So, whereas from special school I moved toward the integrated education under the SSA scheme, which later on transitioned to Samagra Shiksha in 2017-18. So we are moving rigorously in implementing this inclusive education. As per the terminologies that has been quoted by the host, inclusive education is just a system that children with and without disabilities learns in the same classroom, general classroom. So, opportunities were given to children with disabilities to be admitted in their general regular classroom only. But with the support as per their needs and competencies, individually or collectively also. So, with the resource support of the special educator, who are the trained personnel recognized by the Rehabilitation Council of India. And under this inclusive education, we cannot work only with the service of the special educator because as per our state scenario, for this year plan, we have identified around almost 1% of the population out of the total child population of children with disabilities in the state. Okay, so whereas we have only very few manpower to give support to such children with disabilities who are in their schooling system. So, what in inclusive education, they also have another sub-component that we offer education given for children under the home-based environment. We cannot leave out the children who are with high support needs, or those who are one-time drop out from the system, and for those who are newly identified in their societies. So such children are being covered. If the child cannot come to the school, cannot be admitted to the school because of his or her disability, okay? But still, school should be provided at their doorstep. So, So we have that component of home-based education under this inclusive education also.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much for those initial remarks. Ma'am has tried to draw a line between special schools and inclusive education as she understands. It goes beyond the confines of the classrooms to even home-based education. Thank you very much for that. Now, I'll now at this point bring in the government stakeholder here. Ma'am Lingua, what about, talking about making provisions of inclusive education or, creating more special schools or special educators? How does the government support this? Because resources are equally important. How do you look at the infrastructure? How do you look at the resources? And how does government come in the picture here? Ma'am.
What we're doing is that you understand that Meghalaya has its own challenges being in this sort of a terrain. Why we have been deprived of most of the funds also is that we were not compliant to the criteria and conditions which are supposed to be complied with. And because of this, we were not getting the funding for various schemes. Coming to this also, we do have in our allocated funds the money for creation of infrastructure, but we do not have the land. In Meghalaya, the land system, which is community owned, it becomes very difficult. So there's why I will have to go back to my earlier speech, where we have to appreciate the visionary leadership that exists in institutions such as these that do not commercialize. You don't have 5-6-story buildings. You have a 2-story building even in the school with space and atmosphere. Coming now to children with disability, what we're doing is these past 2 years with the concept that the vision that has been conceptualized by our Honorable Chief Minister, because I'm a government representative, I have to speak the government talk. Thanks to the kind of people he is bringing in, it is all data driven. Only last year, when we were checking, why is it that funding is so less? We're cribbing. It's in the newspaper that we're taking loans. But like yesterday when it was presented before the Finance Commission, actually to get a loan, it means we are on a high credibility quotient because it's so difficult to get a loan. But because of the DPR that has been submitted, because of the connections, we did get a loan. And audit for that will be done on a time bomb. So for audit to be done, it has to be a global compliant outcome. Now coming to sir, you were asking how do we aid? For now, for the present, for the 2 weeks or 3 weeks that I'm in, I found that how we were helping was by sponsoring the special educators. Now some of them did not. Last year, as director, I found that there was a lull in salaries to be paid. They were not paid. You have Mary Rice, you have Bethany Society, you have hearing impaired. So these are the 6 of the NGOs which are Christian-based, supported by the government. I don't know why it is not given the visibility. Here we have Invisible No More. There's so many schemes that are done by the government. We have with us 30,800 employees. How is it that they're so anti-government, kind of? Nobody says that I'm getting my salary. I told you I'm a celebrant of the good things. I'm a celebrant of good education. I'm a celebrant of the government. I celebrate the salary coming in. Now, the thing is, you're asking, what about the special education schools, special institutions? Where do we get it? But for today, that we have Brother, Sir Karmo Narona, Madam Bertha, they exist because someone had the foresight to create a space and an environment to have this. That is why we have exceptional personalities that needs to be celebrated. One man, one show, Edmund Rice. He went beyond, he challenge the limit that were imposed on him by his own influence, by his own resources, by his own financial capacity. He created a kind of resource that would embrace and bring in inclusivity. So today, the children are here. The students are here. We want to invest in you. The government wants to invest in you. We want you to do continuing education. We are going to do an awareness program. You've heard Sir Dylan talk about Empower. We have 60,000 unemployed youth, but we are now embracing. Some of them are here. In fact, some of them are even here. We want to draw back our kids who are from outside because we want them to invest. And it ties to them that we also discover why is it that you have disability. Myself personally, in the month of June, I went on a recce, I went on a drive. I found that a mother who's 14 years old got pregnant. She doesn't have the capacity to grow as yet. Here she has a baby and she already has 2 ahead. Out of these 2, one does not have the bone support. So 2 years old, the child does not have the neck support, does not have the brain support. And we found that the cause of disability, if it's not like accidents cause or some other genetics, the reason is because you don't have iron and you don't have folic acid. These are foundationals. So we're going back to the foundations. And so since you have children here, the young people, with the kind of background that you heard me coming from, now we understand why it is so important to get married. Because Meghalaya has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy. We have in the list, we do have reports. I am in social welfare, I have a juvenile child healthline, a woman healthline. Some children do get out from the house at 12, at 1. We have the reports, we have CCTV. And they go around and they come back just for fun, but it's not funny when you're pregnant because the boy leaves. Just your sneakers cost 10,000 or 8,000. How can you stay in a house rent 8,000 and then to buy bread every day and to buy all these? So when you heard about polygamy, I did visit one lady, 9 children, 3 fathers, not married. So we don't have child marriage because no actual ceremony is conducted. But we have lived in. And then under juvenile justice, I talk this because you by now you know I talk in meetings. So in Ganesh Das, the boy is like 19 years, the girl is 17. They went on a hike to arrest the man. But this is, you can't do that. You know, we can't stick with the letter so much. Because the boy is going to look after the girl. They said, no, because you've committed a crime, you made a girl pregnant. But these are the reasons why we don't have institutional delivery. I'm deviating from the subject. But then when a marriage is not conducted, on the day that a marriage happens, on the night that you consummate, 4 days later the brain forms and then starts. And because of this, most of the cases that we have from the data, we found that sometimes the teenage pregnant girl doesn't tell, hides the pregnancy for 5 months, doesn't get iron folic, doesn't get the protein, doesn't get the nutrient and the vitamin. The baby inside gets compromised. So so you see the outcomes of, and it's happening. So I told you I was in the Supreme Court 2 days, first time ever. And for that also, I feel that, you know, when you connect with the divine, when I use that word acronym, connect with the divine, he caused things to happen. For the first time ever, Supreme Court under the Juvenile Justice Committee are going to have a theme on children with disabilities. So all the acts and rules will be about them. So today, if I talk about that, it will be difficult for me because I'm not a decision maker. We implement what has been given to us. I did take down notes when the justice of different states spoke. They said it makes all the difference to connect with the head. Because the head takes the decision, the head makes policy. And by the grace of God, the Supreme Justice of India today has 2 adopted children who are children with disabilities. And because of that, he has a heart, a compassion that's going to work on him. And they did give us these books and we are going to write on it. So beyond that, I don't know what you want to say.
Thank you so much for very exhaustive. Well, I understand from what I've heard so far from the 3 panelists is that both approaches, whether establishing more special schools or making inclusive education more student friendly, both these provisions have the merits. But then we need to consider the spectrum of disabilities. You know, a particular kind of disabilities can be taken care of by inclusive education. Some others may not be so. So, what is the goal? Goal, as I understand, would be to have specialized, almost simulated environment. Whereas in inclusive environment, inclusive schools, you have a student learning by competing against his or her peers. There are myriad examples. Sitting here as a teacher for many, many years, I know about this college, which practices inclusive education. And I know about the success stories of many of such cases, which I will not share because the forum doesn't allow me to do that. But I had asked Ma'am Lingua a pointed question on the support system. How does the administration support? She has given the answers. Now I will continue with the same question to Ms. Bertha, the guard, who is sitting quietly all the while. As usual, she has been doing all her good work very quietly. How do you look at the training aspect of these teachers, whether they belong to special schools or to a college like, say, St. Edmunds, where inclusive education is practiced? How is the training the key?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I would just like to say a word of appreciation and really appreciation, because how many hours have we sat here from the beginning? 3 hours? 4 hours, whatever. I have not heard the word differently abled or special abled or thing. I've heard persons with disabilities. And that is what I'm doing this to the organizers, to St. Edmunds College. This is what we want. We need to tell the world that the accepted terminology is persons with disabilities. And now as we're talking about education, then it's children with disabilities or students with disabilities. So let us stick to that, and please take this message out. We want to discourage differently abled, specially abled, and there are 100 more. Anyways, I was asked a question. Yes, thank you for that question. I want to ask anybody here, what is the theme, the UNESCO theme for World Teachers' Day this year? Anybody? The theme happens to be the transformation in education begins with whom do you think it begins? I gave you the hint. Why, sir? It's nothing? Okay. Okay. You can't stand like that. Okay. The theme for which day? Transformation of education begins with the... It's a theme for the World Teachers' Day. So it begins with whom? With a teacher. Yes. Okay? And I'm very happy to get this. I also wanted to start saying that every child is born to learn. It doesn't matter where the child is, how much the child learns. where he learns, what he learns, but he can learn. And that is the conviction that each educator should have. That there is no set parameter or standard that a child should achieve this much. Doesn't matter he achieves an inch or 12 inches. He has learned. It's gone off? Okay. I'm giving too much. Okay, back to thing. So, anywhere in Meghalaya, with due respect to all concerned, even in our country, I don't know how many of us know where education stands, as I know it's bottom of the line in the country. I don't know whom to blame, but I'm very sure that we need to bring in all the aspects of school education and higher education together. But the question for me is the teachers. If we look at special education, which is supposedly carried on only in special schools, we call them special educators who need a different type of training other than the mainstream teachers. Then mainstream teachers undergo the general teacher education curriculum. Now, who sets these curriculum? For the mainstream teachers, it's the NCERT, of course, but mostly when it comes to special education, the RCI, the Rehabilitation Council of India, has the power to say whether this individual is fit to be a special educator or not. Now, they undergo different types of training, and the thing is that, see, for any institute to conduct training of special educators, they need to have the mandate from the Rehabilitation Council of India, and they need to be affiliated to any institution or study center, needs to be affiliated to a university. For many years in Meghalaya, we have had the privilege of having more than one training institutes or centers in the state. And that's why we've had a number of special educators. But now we don't have. We have only in, when we have it in Tura, in the Montfort Center of Education. All along we've also had training, what's this? Distance mode. Distance B.Ed. Distance mode B.Ed. And Northeastern Hill University conducted the training and the examinations and everything, and we as study centers, we had to be affiliated. But now because of UGC norms, the change in the norms, NEHU does not affiliate any more of these. So we are bereft of any training institute in the state, especially for the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. We only have the diploma DLEd in Montfort. It's the same in other parts of Northeast India. There is a dearth of special educators. Okay, inclusive education mainstream teachers. When was inclusive education introduced in Meghalaya? I'm very sure it was around 2006. But since then, the training curriculum of teachers, either by DERT, with due respect, or by any other authority has not changed. Because what? Inclusive education is where all children learn together under one teacher, following the same curriculum, having the same goal, but maybe different means of reaching that goal. So this teacher needs to be trained in such a way that she can manage the diversity of children in the classroom. But it's not happening. Let's hope with the new education policy and with the new National Curriculum Framework for School Education, as well as the NCF and SCF for teacher education, things may change. But it's still a long way away. So I don't know if Meghalaya has to promote either special schools or inclusive education. Buildings will be there, children will be admitted. What about the quality of teaching they will receive in the classroom? That is a big, big question. Okay? And one more thing. If we choose special schools, Madam Lingua with social welfare and MSGE will be very busy. But inclusive education, then it's what? DSEM, right? See, this is, even this, we've not been able to come to one consensus. So, I'll stop here.
Ms. Bertha, for very succinctly putting the entire subject matter of this panel discussion into perspective. 3 things that I picked up from her opening remarks, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, we should not be condescending to anyone. We should not sound patronizing by using such euphemisms as special abilities and stuff like that. She is direct, forthright in her approach. The other thing that she mentioned is that she's not very sure where to draw the line between inclusive education and special schools. Classrooms, buildings do not essentially produce educated young people. We are in need of training. We are in need of institutions which will impart such training. But somehow, at some point, we are lacking. Up to the school level, it's still okay. But beyond that, well, not enough has been done in our state, or maybe even outside our state. Thank you very much for that. We have covered 3 major stakeholders here who are directly affected by this whole scenario. We have the educators, we have discussed them. The students, we have discussed. The government, the policymakers, we have discussed. The other very important stakeholder in the whole business would be the parents. So my question to Mr. Narona is, what about the parents? I mean, who makes the decision as to whether their words will go to a special school or a mainstream school?
Okay, thank you, sir. In my opening remarks, I stated that it's the parents who spearheaded the special education because they were left out. I also want to to state very, very clear, my own personal view, I'm not sitting on the fence, is for inclusion, okay? But I also want to say, as per law, parents have the right to choose whether they go to a special school or to an inclusive school. I think Bertha started the whole point, and I want to state it again, because the moment you start with this debate, we presume that children are the problem. I want to state very, very clearly, children are never the problem. I'm talking about all children, okay? Children are the solution, we don't listen to them. And parents are the solution, we don't listen to them. The problem is in the system. This is with due respect, and I don't blame anybody, and with due respect. So when you speak of special education or inclusive education, my question is, are we supporting something, or are we going from the frying pan into the fire? Because if the system is not ready, then we will be doing a disservice. And this is what I want. I'm looking at the overall education system. How many of you go shopping? Everybody goes shopping. Yeah, I hope so. There are some who don't go shopping. Maybe their partners go shopping with them, okay, or their parents. But my point is Ma'am Lingua went for shopping for her beautiful dress to Police Bazaar. And I went into a shop, and the policeman, the shopkeeper told her, "Ma'am, this is the dress, take it or leave it." Or if we went to buy a pair of shoes, you were told, "This is the only pair of shoes I have, take it or leave it." The point I'm trying to make is, please compare that to the education system. We have grown so much, we've got so much. Even today in the education system is one size fits all. You have the same curriculum, you have the same textbooks, you have the same uniform. There are 100 of us over here, and all 100 of you are listening to me differently. You take in information differently. And so, whether it's with parents or with anybody else, for example, why did I go to Bertha? She had to read her notes using her fingers. She's using braille. And at the same time, she had to speak. So there is a barrier. So when it comes to education, education is not about spouting information. It is about scaffolding children who have barriers. And one thing I want to talk about special education is, it is presumed that if you put together all children with autism, or all children with intellectual disability, they are a homogeneous group. They are not. They are as heterogeneous as an inclusive classroom. They may be from a single mother, they may be from a family of 9, they may not know English, they may have a problem seeing. So the best way to do it is through an inclusive setup. And parents, not only for special education, but for all education, must be your partners. Your children are 19 hours with you. They are 5 hours in the classroom. So who knows the children best? Who knows the context of the children best? It must be the parents. That's all I have to say, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Just a bit to what Sir had said. Somewhere in the Act also, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, and also in the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities, even they have to reach a certain age.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, I was going to ask this question after parents, what about children? You know, once they are 18, are they allowed to make a choice? Where do they want to go?
They don't need to be 18.
They don't need to be 18.
No, they can be at 8 years old, 9 years old.
Okay, that's so there is no legality over here. Okay, it's your ability to take decisions that is to be respected. You know, I just want to share a particular anecdote here. Not exactly an anecdote, it's a real life situation. This year, in the first semester, we have admitted a student in the education department who is autistic. And I have seen her mother coming to college initially every day, trying to meet everyone, teachers, principal, vice principals, everyone, and spending time with them and introducing her son to everyone who, according to her, would be the people to go to. And this student, her son, was told that before you leave the college, after you finish the class, please go and wish your principal or your vice principal or your teachers. And this boy was doing it religiously initially for about 2 weeks. But slowly, I saw him, and those days, first 15 days, he was all by himself. There's nobody with him. But after 15 days or so, the boy stopped coming and standing in front of my door to say that I've finished my classes, I'm going home. Or his mother is not seen anymore in the campus, but the boy is very much there in the college along with his friends. So which means the boy has learned to, be with his peers and probably is ready to face the world in his own terms without being looked out. So that's why I asked this question after parents comes teachers. Thank you very much for that. That's one of those many interesting stories that we see here. And that's the reason why inclusive education is such a relevant thing as far as I'm concerned personally. Okay, let's move now to the outcomes. We have seen the issue, we have discussed the problems, we have discussed the choices. Now let's see the outcome. I'll ask Ma'am Lingua, the policy maker here. What would be the long-term approach to settle this issue? Long-term approach of the industry. Because we have been told that there is not enough provision made for educating people to take care of such children. What is your long-term?
In fact, in the month of May 2022, the Meghalaya government launched the Meghalaya Early Childhood Development Mission. This is where we found out the statistics and the data also. It's ongoing, where we have these children with disabilities, and it will go to our credit also that just 2 weeks ago the Chief Minister himself launched the device, the guide for monitoring, child monitoring device, which has already been used by Bethany, but the government we are now on an MOU with Maharashtra, with the group from Maharashtra, where a pregnant mother will be detected whether the child she is carrying has any of these situation in her womb. For this, we also therefore have in New Shillong plans for creating the Center for Development Child. It is a very ambitious project of the government, but we have things in place. In fact, we do have our own local engineers, but like I said, we have to be global compliance. We also need from outside the professionals, because we are still stuck with the 9 by 10. As I'm sitting here, you could understand again the vision of space, even in institutions like this. because we are now focused on child-friendly, focused administration. It's child-friendly. Like I said to you, Meghalaya, it has the highest population of children, and like you said earlier, in terms of education, yes, we are last. Learning outcomes, I do have the figures here, we are last, and we are going to address this because we also found out that we are the only state which has, in the northeast, which has 7,000 less villages in comparison to our sister states. So when the funds come also, it dwindles. But why we have this? Because 1,500 villages were not covered. To make one village, we have to have 100 households. But in Meghalaya, because the villages are scattered, the households are scattered, so 25 villages, which is from one end to the other end. I'm talking about rural Meghalaya, especially in Garo Hills and in West Khasi Hills and in utmost borders of China Hills. So we have scattered households, so they don't come into the framework, and for this we miss the scheme. For this, why I'm telling you is because what is the outcome? We have already have this in place, and we also have found out that we have in the state of Meghalaya only about 7 to 11 special educators, if ma'am can correct me or not. We have 55,000 teachers, out of which only about 20 are untrained, right? It's like going to Guwahati in a vehicle driven by a 4-year-old, I mean a class 4 pass, it might be like 11-year-old child driving also the vehicle. And that is why education has been compromised, which we did not understand. That is why to have a platform like today at you students, you, the other side of what we are talking about, you become very crucial because even I'm talking with you now, we have in Mau Kasiang, we do have childcare institutions. In fact, we do have children with disabilities who are taken care by special educators. I suddenly remembered, okay, I've got 3 children and I've had you know, what do you say, a sort of if it's not for what. So sometimes the brain just gets a bit, you know, going from one side to the other. I suddenly remember we do have special educators. We have about, in these children care institutions, we are giving employment to 600 young people. And so these form part of the people who are the caregivers and caretakers of children in need of care and protection whom we have with us, sir. And so these are the kind of institutions that the government does have. But then the way ahead, the way forward is we have this Child for Development Center. In fact, I have with us here, Nena and Lain, they're part of our team that are on a journey for early childhood development, and for this we are going to have trainers. We even have an MOU signed with 6 outside people who are going to input us. It's like having a tool board, and because we are so homeland lovers, we have our own, we want it to be driven by our own locals who has the capacity of an auto rickshaw to drive this toll board. But we need pilots who are like, you know, people who can drive us forward. This is where the government therefore needs professional, needs consultant, of which even Dylan is one. The success story of today is because Dylan is one of our consultants. We have to be bigger than the normal functionary, you know, so that they can, together with Dr. Lalu, to be the support system. So we are going to have now the Center for Early Childhood Development Center, where we are going to have a strong, robust support system. We are calling in now our children who have studied outside, who want to go abroad, but we are trying to draw them in. We already got about 30. They are in place. We call them the capacity team, building team. And most of them passed from here also and other institutions, but they finished from universities from outside our state. And it is so beautiful the way we work. On that, we are getting all these data. What else do you want to say?
Thank you, ma'am. That was very, very encouraging to know that the government is wide awake to its responsibilities. But then we also understand that the challenge is big and the road is long. I'm sure we'll reach the end of the road at some point. Thank you very much. Ma'am, would you like to add something quickly on to what Ma'am Lingua has mentioned?
See, like as per the Academic Act 2016, they had specifically mentioned for the children with high support needs and those with extra disabilities. Although under this inclusive education component, we do have that home-based education program, but however, personally, I feel that special school and the inclusive school should coexist so as to complement and supplement each other for the benefits and the needs of these children with disabilities. We cannot exist without the special school. Like they should act as a resource center, especially for under a framework of IE framework. We work we have to get support from the special school setups, because these children who are in the mainstream or regular school, children with disabilities, but however, some of them still require remedial teaching, of which the special educator placed under that block or cluster center will not be able to visit each school twice a week or so. Because, like we have rightly identified, that there is a very limited and shortage of manpower. Like special educators are very less. If combined about the presence of the special educator in the inclusive school or general school system, which are working under the Samagra Shiksha, and those under the special school, which we have tried to compile the registry of those present under the special school also, we have very less. Means up till today we very less, only less than 200. So where is that action where we have to provide quality and equip children with that quality education for children and students with disabilities?
Thank you. Anything else you want to add?
Moreover, like although we have all these children, but still, like as Madam Bertha pointed out, that we still have a long way to go to do justice to provide education for children and students with disabilities uniformly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The organizers have given us 1 hour. I think we're just about 1 hour now. So I'll request the panelists for the final remark. One sentence, one final sentence on this issue. I'll start with Mr. Naruna.
This is like an English class, one sentence to summarize.
Is it one sentence, not one line?
No, all I want to say is, let's be very practical. We don't have numbers. Ma'am said 1%, this is due respect. In the morning we were saying 10 to 15%. 90%, 80 to 90% of our population is in rural areas. So if we don't look at rural schools, how can we have really inclusion? If you want to have special education, as per numbers, you have between 8 to 10,000 children at risk or children with disability. To cover all this, if the government is ready to pay the funds, you need 1,250 special educators. Let's be realistic, okay? The point is, there is the teacher training. For mainstream, what about special inclusive education? So we have a long way to go. The government is making some really wonderful plans. I agree with that. Early childhood, especially early childhood, which is vital. But from where will the money come? Those of us who are getting money from Ministry of Social Justice, who is supposed to support special education, for the last 2 years we have not got funds. So NGOs are surviving on their own funds, thanks to the social welfare for supporting teachers. But teachers is not the only thing to support. So this is my point. Let's be realistic, okay, and work within the system. We need special schools to support, but the main focus will be on inclusive education. Special schools are not even touching 0.1% of the children with disability in the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ma'am Bata, your final comment? Ma'am Bata, yes, your final comment.
Okay, this comes out from the bottom of my heart. My concern for all children who are in school and who are yet to join school, for the children, for your children who are going to go into school. I beg the government of Meghalaya to understand what it means by inclusive education. It has to come to one consensus, because how it's being looked at now, it's like as if we are just bringing in children with disabilities into the main classroom, and they are taught by a special educator on the side. But inclusive education is where they all learn together, and we need to have special educators all the time. If the teachers are fully trained in a very holistic curriculum, we don't need, but we do need special educators, of course, for sets of children with high support needs. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am Albaka, your last final comment.
I believe that everyone can learn, provided that we give all the necessary support required by each and every individual. So I also, in support with Ms. Bata, urge the government to take necessary steps in making this inclusive education fruitful, that will cater to all children, whether they belong to any sector, and also especially for those in the cluster or and village level, where they are the most being deprived of their rights to education. So with making the school with everything supported, required support, I hope that inclusive education will be successful and reach to the unreached.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure you will forward your appeal to your director as well to take care. The final say, I give it to Ma'am Lingua.
On the appeal of Nada Bertha that the government take care, we did have an MOU again, because like you were saying earlier, ma'am, that we need collaboration, we need to have a convergence, which we are doing right now. That's why Early Childhood Development Mission is a convergence between Health Department, Education Department and Social Welfare Department is a nodal. And so for this we are spearheaded also to address this issue of how to bring in these children and include in. We do have an MOU with St. John's, which is very big for us also. So with the doctors from St. John Medical School in Bangalore, because we have so much cases going down, and they found out that we are afflicted with a lot of neurodevelopmental disorders. On this we also have, so when we say Center for Child Development, Center for Child Development, Center for Excellence, we also have these different aspects to look into. And when we talk about that, is why I come here as a celebrant of this institution, because my sons also are in the both school and college, where they do have inclusive education. But more than the child who's child with disability, my sons are the recipients, are the ones who feel blessed. Last year he was a scribe for someone, and that totally shifted and changed him. And so today, more than coming with this issue on persons with disability, what about us who look at them? What about us who can make a change for them? What about the ones who can make a difference? So, and not only that, in the month of March, the Government of India, through Women and Child Development, it's a grace of God also, through NEP 2020, the leadership in the ministry, therefore brought out these curriculum framework on the Beyond, which is Nav Cheddar, which is from 0 to 3 years old, how to take care of children. So right now, we are on the training ground and we're using this MIT again, a Catholic institution, hall and auditorium and space, vision, far-sighted. We are using that space to train our Anganwadi workers. We are using that space to train our lady supervisor on this curriculum together with what the ECD is doing. So we are on that page actually. And for this, please, like Sir said, MOSEG, the ministry gives us very minimal funds. The reason is because a data entry operator does not have the capacity to push the computer. That's why education becomes very important. His missing stop the funds. We keep on having to ask, it is there, but we can't get it because we are so interested in having our own to run the turbo. And because of this, therefore the government of Meghalaya through ECD mission has got a loan from World Bank, and this is very big. On this loan, we are employing kids, we are doing capacity building, we are going to create infrastructure, we are going to create assets, and for this we need to have an audit which we need time bound. So time bound we need professional. See, just now also we are delayed in the time because it's run by us. Like we are scheduled trial, everything is take it easy. So time bound means these professionals to come in, which we are going to invest, and more loans are coming.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Time to wind up. Final takeaway as a moderator. My takeaway which I want to share with you. We must invest in a robust continuum of services. Create flexible pathways for students and ensure that funding is allocated effectively to support both special schools and inclusive education. Focus on training and support for educators in inclusive settings. Partnership between special schools and mainstream schools is the need of the hour. Thank you all for your very insightful contributions. The discussion, as you are aware, underscores the importance of considering diverse needs and perspectives of education of students with disabilities. Let's continue advocating. Thank you very much, all the agencies who have brought about this panel discussion in line with the theme of the program. Once again, put your hands together for our panelists. And of course, for yourselves, very passionate audience who have sat through these delayed sessions one after another. Thank you very much for being present.